All right, welcome back to episode 13 to Just an Introvert podcast. I'm Amy,
And I'm Abbie.
and we're continuing with our interview series, and we have another special guest on for this episode. And this is someone I grew up with and someone Abbie grew up with.
True.
It is my brother, Kirk McCall, and Abbie's dad.
AKA Dad. Yes.
So he's a professional introvert, so he has a lot of wisdom to share with us, and we're very excited to dig into what you think on certain things. So anyway, but we got to start with our, you know, beginning exercises.
Our intros. Yep.
So Abbie is going to hit us with the icebreaker.
All
So go,
right.
Abbie.
All right. So I definitely I'm like going to the end of that list, so I'm pulling from the bottom of the barrel. So I'm just picking random questions at this point. Icebreaker is, what was your least favorite food as a child? Can be something you still don't like. Just as a kid, what was one thing that you were like, oh, dreaded having on your plate?
Well, mine is green beans. I hated them. I like them now, but
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
so gross. Like they made me like gag when I tried to eat them.
I feel like, yeah, I was gonna say, Dad, you've got something. I
Well, okay, so I'll,
feel.
I'll say German chocolate cake only because it was something that mom would make a lot, and it was like chocolate cake. Everybody loves it, but then you throw that coconut on the outside, and it just mocks you like, oh, there's something really good in there, but you have to go through coconut. And I did not like coconut, so I always felt kind of offended by German chocolate cake, even though I have German heritage. So,
But
so
German chocolate cake is not German,
And it's not
so
even German.
it should be though.
it should be
Should be.
feels German. Wasn't there a story about you, Dad? You would tuck something like in the drawer in your tape. I feel like Grandma's told that story.
There is. I don't remember it, but I feel like that's something that she talked about.
Like the drawer. I remember our old table had it, like the drawer at the end, to
Oh,
tuck
yeah, there
stuff
was
in,
a
and you would.
little, yeah, like underneath there was
Yeah.
like almost a shelf, and yeah, once in a while, I don't know how it happened, food would make its way off the plate and
Uh-huh.
just end up there. So
I remember exactly what he's talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
too.
I can picture it and feel it. Yeah,
Yeah.
underneath the table. Yeah,
I
yeah,
wasn't
Yeah.
smart enough to hide stuff under there, but I know what
yeah.
he's talking about.
That's great.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yes.
How about you, Abby?
I think I very much remember hating the Stouffer's vegetable lasagna. Like, let's talk about another, like, here's something great, and we're just gonna make it horrible. And I think Mom really liked it. I can't remember, but I feel like we had it frequently, and it was horrible. Like, it just was an atrocity. I don't know why it exists. Did you like that, Dad? Do you remember eating
Yeah,
that
I
or?
feel like we would have like a regular lasagna and then one of those, but then once in a while it's just let's just do the vegetable lasagna.
Oh, like, oh, ugh,
Oh my
ugh.
goodness, that
Yeah.
is so funny. I love that now, but I can imagine as a kid that would have just been
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah. No.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that was good. Okay, you guys ready for the would you rather?
Yes.
Okay. Would you rather go through a drive-through, order like a 12 pack of tacos, burgers, whatever, and then when they hand them to you, you individually open each one and check it while you're still at the window, or pick up a pizza at a pizza place and then slide it over on the counter. And while other people are going up to order, you open it and you eat two pieces while everybody is still ordering at the counter.
I think I'd eat the pizza.
Really?
I feel like that feels less like the pressure of sitting in the drive-through. Like even if it's taking them a long time, I feel bad because I'm like the cars behind me are so mad at me right now. But I feel like I could casually just like, yeah, I'm really hungry. I'm gonna have a few slices of pizza.
Although if the pizza place is really busy, there's a huge crowd watching you do this. Where at the drive-through, it's just you being embarrassed in front of the person making minimum wage there. Might not even understand what's going on. So I don't know.
True.
I might go that
Hmm.
route.
that route. So you're
I mean, basically when you said buy a 12-pack of tacos, I was like, yes. You don't have to sell me on anything else. I'll take that option.
Yeah, I like the fact that you're hidden, even though I would be like stressed out. I would still probably be less embarrassed than sitting and
See that?
piece
Yes,
of pizza while
it would
everybody.
stress me out, and that stress would stick with me for the rest of the day, and I would just be a hot mess. But the pizza thing, it would be like, okay, this is awkward, and I'm moving on. But it reminds me of when I had to do, this is just a side story, my glucose tolerance test during pregnancy, where you have to drink the drink and they test your blood sugar levels to see if you're diabetic.
Uh-huh.
And when I first went with Jane, the lady in front of me walks up, they hand her the drink, and she just chugs it, like standing at the counter. Everyone's, sitting in the lab waiting. So they watch this happen. So then I walk up, like visibly pregnant. I'm like, dang it, she did it. So she set the bar. Now I have to do this. So I stand there and chug it. And I was like, I have to do this now. So I'm like, maybe that's why I'm like, whatever, gotta do what you gotta do.
Peer pressure. You succumb.
Yes, very much. All
Uh,
right. Well, we will get started with our questions for Kirk.
uh-huh.
I'm just gonna get as much mileage out of that as I can. All right. So start us off. We already spoiled this, but are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Yeah, I would definitely classify myself as an introvert. And also, I kind of feel like, I've been on most of the episodes just by name, and I almost feel like I'm sort of the Kevin Bacon of the podcast. But instead of 6 degrees of separation, it's like just one or two because everybody somehow connects to me. So,
That is true.
but yeah, I
Yes.
definitely would check the introvert box.
Yes, so
For sure.
we definitely agree with
No
that one.
surprise.
So when did you learn about introverts and extroverts, and what did you know about them?
Yeah, I don't remember the first time I heard the term. I think the first time I was aware of at least kind of a difference between personalities was the temperament test, the personality test with melancholy, phlegmatic, sanguine, choleric, that whole thing. And they definitely had two of them that were more introverted, two that were more extroverted. I don't know if they used the actual terms then, but it definitely leaned one way or the other. And then somewhere along the line, was became familiar with the term introvert extrovert. So it would probably be, I don't know if it was in my teenage years or college years, maybe early adulthood.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Okay.
And this is kind of some of the stuff you wanted to talk about. So, I'll say this as, okay, rip apart our podcast and ruin our concept. But okay, why do you think the labels introvert and extrovert might not be helpful when you're, just overall describing someone?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, and what prompted me really was I was talking with somebody, and they said, this person is really an introvert, but in that situation, they were really extroverted. And I hear that sometimes. And I don't know, maybe start to think, if we were to ask people like, okay, are you short or tall? Well, there are some people who are legitimately, shorter, and some people are taller, but you've got that kind of, bell curve where most people are in the middle. It's hard to classify. And it made me think that being introverted or extroverted may not be as much of an overall personality trait as kind of a situation by situation, either choice we make or response to a situation. And now, somebody may, let's say in 100 social situations, might choose or, do the introvert response, 70 of the 100 times. And we'd say, oh, they're an introvert. But I think there's lots of cases where somebody who's called an introvert will act extrovert or vice versa. And so rather than just use as a big general descriptor, maybe it's more helpful to look at it as how do we respond in very specific situations? Because, like for me, I'm an introvert, but I'm also a teacher. If you were to walk into my classroom and not know anything about me, you would say, oh, he's probably extroverted. So in that particular setting, in that environment, that's definitely the choice that I make or what I lean into. But even there are even times where I would be with a group of people, one day, and I feel introverted with that group, but then the same group of people another time I feel extroverted. And so it could be just a little thing. It might be the addition or subtraction of a particular person from a group that could do that. So, I don't know, maybe just looking at it more situation by situation in terms of our response to that. And then we wouldn't be surprised when somebody who's quote, extroverted acts introverted or vice versa. Because I don't think there's anybody who's purely 100%
Right.
or the other.
Right.
We can all think of, great examples of introverts we know who, quote, act extroverted or vice versa. So I don't know, maybe that helps, and people wouldn't feel quite as, put into a particular category when they know that, oh, there are times when I act a little bit differently. So
Yeah.
I tend to not try to think of things in terms of binaries where it's either A or B, but there's really a lot of overlap, middle ground, and I think most of us probably are there. Although we might, in certain cases, choose one response or the other. So I think the labels are good, but people maybe don't want to, if they call themselves an introvert, always expect to be introverted.
Right.
Don't be surprised if there are times when you act like an extrovert, or vice versa. So that was kind of my thinking, and just thinking of it more as a situation by situation.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. Like when you do any of the personality tests, I'd like that it shows it kind of on that spectrum, how far you are. And I feel like that plays into it as well. Like just because someone is an introvert or an extrovert, there's, a wide range of that as well. Do you think, just hearing you talk made me think, I feel like there's moments where, I may be more comfortable or more okay being social, and like people almost like not doubt your introversion, but they're like, oh, wait, I thought you were, you kind of feel that like, no, I still am, but I have that, depending again, situation, comfortability, people or whatever, have that ability to be a little bit more outgoing, but it doesn't completely, change your default setting. I guess I don't know if that makes sense, but hearing you say that, I feel like there's been moments where people are like, no, but you're really outgoing, and I'm like, sometimes, but
Yeah. And I think maybe for a person who's an extrovert, if there's times when they feel like they're being, an introvert, they might feel very uncomfortable, but there's nothing wrong with that. In that situation, that's what you need at that moment, or that's what you're more comfortable with. So even just helping people not be, feel like they have to act a certain way because they've been labeled, or feel like they should be, that way.
Yeah, and I get that a lot with teaching too. People have told me numerous times, "Oh, you're not an introvert. Look at, and even just like the TikToks I do or things like that." And then when you said about being in a group and then just having an elimination of maybe one person makes a big difference on how you're acting with them. So I can definitely relate to that.
And it doesn't always, and I would say even as an introvert, let's say I have a date to myself, and which is, the introvert dream. That doesn't necessarily mean that the next day, if I'm with a group of people, I'm not going to say, you know what, I still want to just kind of be off the corner by myself. Again, it can change really quickly. So it's not like it's something we store up and then we're ready to be social. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. So again, I just think, just looking at the context that you're in, the situations you're in, who you're around, where your comfort level is, and feeling okay with, I'm feeling drawn towards this right now, good, then kind of lean into that, and that's okay. It's not a right or wrong choice to choose one or the other.
Yeah, that's good points there. Let's see here, what are your thoughts on teaching introverts?
Yeah, so I am a teacher. This is my 29th year of being in education.
29. I had to do that. Sorry.
Thank you. And I've taught a variety of levels. I've gone all from 7th grade up through 12th grade, mostly math. Done some college courses as well. And looking back on my experience as a student, of course, it was terrifying to have to give a speech or to get called on in class. As an introvert, and maybe it was just, well, if I just had time to think about something, I'd be ready to respond. And so I don't know that I was as sensitive to that early on in my teaching career. It was kind of a one size fits all, like, all right, we're going to put everybody's name on a popsicle stick into this little, cup, and I'm going to write a problem on the board and pick a name out. And all right, let's hear from Abbie, and I get why teachers do that, and I don't think that's necessarily a wrong approach to use, but um, I don't know that every student should be put in that situation, especially as you get to know students. Um, and so what I try to do is, as I get to know different personalities, there are some students I will definitely call on. There are some who I will choose not to. Even if I do the popsicle stick thing, if a certain name comes up, I'm going to magically come up with another name and being sensitive to that. Or, the thinking back to giving a speech in English class or whatever, is it good for every kid to give a speech? Well, yes and no. Maybe you give an option where, okay, if you want to give a speech, great. If you want to do a project, do a project. If you want to do something different, and not feel like everybody has to, kind of do the extrovert thing, because that can be pretty tough. And especially as a math teacher, you've already got the challenge of teaching math, which already builds anxiety. So I just tried to, become a little more sensitive to that. I would encourage teachers to just think through, that maybe the one size fits all thing doesn't always work. I think we've seen in education a move towards a lot more, creative approaches to different activities, that might, allow us to kind of cater things to different students, different personalities. So, and I always find it weird when people say, "Oh, everybody needs to, give a speech because in college you're going to have to do this." I don't like the thinking of, "Oh, it's going to be in college, so you have to do it now." I always say, well, I don't think anybody would tell a pregnant woman and her husband, "Hey, why don't you set an alarm for 2 o'clock in the morning every night for the next several months, because you're going to do that when your baby's born." No, you'll have time to do that when the baby's here. Now you don't have to. So should we make kids, do things that are very uncomfortable, especially for introverts? I don't think so. So I think it's just helped me. And I think students appreciate it when they realize that we're, sensitive to them, but also maybe we give them opportunities to talk in a small group or talk with a partner. It doesn't have to be the, in front of the class sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was always one size fits all growing up, going to school. And so I thought that's what we're supposed to become. And so I went, this is uncomfortable, but this is what I have to be. And then later I went, oh no, I don't have to be this. So I think that it's good. We've come a long way, I think.
Yeah, I do think that was a push even when I was in school. Like, it was like, well, you're going to have to do this. And I'm like, as a nurse, I've never had to stand up and give a speech ever. Like, that's not a thing, like to assume like, oh, everyone's going to have to do this in their life. Like, not really. But yeah, pushing out of that comfort zone can be really intimidating, even if you're not introverted. I mean, I think about someone coming from the standpoint of like having anxiety, like the unexpected, like just what you were saying, like, if I know, okay, this is what's expected of me, this is what I'm going to do, it's a lot different than like just springing that on you. Yeah. You're probably going to have more like thoughtful and better responses from someone who, is preparing for it instead of just putting them on the spot. So,
yeah. I mean, when I was in school, I tell kids all the time, because one of the questions they'll ask, in the first week of school, I let them ask any question they want. And one of them is inevitably, "Did you think you were going to be a teacher?" I say, when I was in high school, if you told me I would be a teacher, I said, absolutely not, because I hated speech day. I hated talking in front of people, but I figured it out later. So you never know what's going to happen. So you don't have to learn how to do something in high school that you might, one day do in your adult years. You'll get there. So, and that whole thing about comfort zones, that's a pet peeve of mine. I mean, when people say you need to get out of your comfort zone, I want to say, there's a reason that it's a comfort zone. This is where I operate the best, and if I choose to do that, that's one thing. But for somebody to constantly want to, yank you out of that, no, I've spent a lot of time developing my lane. I know where I operate the best. And so, thank you for the encouragement, but, it's okay to stay where you're, most suited.
Yeah, the comfort level and the getting someone out of their shell. I recently learned turtles are completely attached to their shells. Like, they are not like pop out of it in the cartoon. So whenever I hear that now, I'm like, so you want me to like rip open my body? Cool. No, I'm not doing that. Like, that's a terrible example or thing to say. No. Okay, so what do you think about, we talked about this in one of our previous episodes about extroversion being so prominent in the church setting, because you have a background in working in the church as well.
Yes. I enjoyed your conversation about that. I did for about 5 years. I worked as a youth pastor when I got out of college, and so it was in a big church setting, kind of your standard evangelical mega church, and been around a lot of those. And I think in your episode you talked about how that seems to be kind of the default in church settings, is extroversion. And I was thinking about maybe why that might be, and a couple things came to mind. I think the first one is in most of the churches that would consider themselves to be evangelical, there's a real push for evangelism, and that evangelism takes on a very specific form. Where I remember learning the little script to say, and then all right, we're going to go to a laundromat. We're going to go in there. We're just going to find random people and start talking to them. Or we're going to go to the mall. I think you probably remember in high school, one of in the Bible classes, go to the mall and you're going to interview a total stranger. Which again, some
Still
people
traumatized.
yeah, and some people love that. I mean, some people, they just couldn't wait to get in there. But that was not everybody's preference. But it was kind of locked in that you had to do sort of I almost want to say sort of a sales pitch sort of approach. And obviously people who have the extroverted personalities they're very comfortable with that. I can easily do that. And then people who weren't had that tension of, well, I know I should be out there sharing my faith, and I guess that's the way to do it. So I guess I have to, act that way, because we never really heard about a lot of, introvert friendly evangelism. You don't hear a lot about that. And honestly, I think that much of the best, evangelism that's done is done maybe without words, or just by actions, by the way we live our lives. And so that was one thing that I think probably contributes to that, is the approaches to evangelism. But also, I think in bigger churches, if you look at the type of people that are in the senior pastor role, it tends to be a more outgoing, extroverted person. And since so much of the church kind of revolves around, him in most cases, they're almost set up as a model, as an example. And so, wow, if I see, Pastor so-and-so every week and he's extroverted and he's, the example of the godly man, I guess that's what I need to be too. So it kind of makes sense that there wasn't a lot of room for introverts in some of our church settings, that it was kind of assumed that, oh, okay, along with all the other things about being a quote good Christian, I have to have a particular type of personality. So it does make sense, and a lot of the way church services are done, the elements in them aren't necessarily things that introverts are drawn to. And if they are, and this always makes me laugh when they'll say, all right, we're going to have the time of silence. And we introverts think, oh, this is going to be great. I get time to reflect and just kind of, and they say, so for about the next 30 seconds, we're going to be quiet. And I think, what, 30 seconds? Like, I can barely just get myself calmed down in 30 seconds. But for the extroverts, they're going crazy after 30 seconds. So, I would love for there to be more, let's say, times for contemplation, or to meditate, or silent prayer, kind of give opportunities for that as well. So, so I think that's probably why a lot of us, felt that pressure to be, more of an extroverted type of person, because that's what we saw modeled for us. And that, a lot of the programs and things, or even youth group, I think like you talked about, it tended to lean into that. So what choice did the rest of us have? We either, followed along and tried to fake it, or, felt really awkward and uncomfortable when we sat in the back of the room. So.
And then there's the added element of like, okay, if I'm not participating, it's freaking church. So if I'm not doing this, I'm like a sinner. And it's like, okay, what's the worst of two evils? Be a sinner or participate in something terrible. Yeah, I remember that pressure so vividly. And what you were saying about like the projects and the going out and talking to random people, not only is that geared towards an extrovert as the evangelizer, but being approached by a random person on the street is an introvert's nightmare on the receiving end as well. So you're having extroverts outreach to extroverts, but the introverts are just like, good luck, figure it out on your own.
And that being like the only way you can
Yeah.
witness to someone and you think I'm just a failure because I can't, that's just not comfortable for me. And I just, yeah, it's a lot there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great stuff. I just was thinking about this. I know we asked mom, when we did our last interview about,
So
you know,
she's mom and I'm
parenting.
Kirk. I see how it works.
Oh my gosh. Get over yourself.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay, eldest daughter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, okay. We're not gonna duke it out on the podcast here. The sass will never end. What did you experience like as a parent, being, you know, an introvert and an extrovert, and then parenting like the wide range of the four of us kids, where we land on that?
I don't know that really I don't really think I thought much about that, at least from the parent perspective, because most of our parenting was done obviously in the home or in much smaller settings. So I don't think it really entered my mind much. That now looking back, I think it was definitely a strength of ours to have the two different personalities, and I can see a lot of cases where we were able to kind of balance each other out, or kind of rein each other in towards more of a middle ground. So but yeah, I don't think it never really was in the front of my thinking like, oh, I'm parenting as an introvert now, or she's parenting as an extrovert. It was just, or this is our focus is on what's best for our kids and how can we help them. And so it was more, if anything, incidental, how our personalities affected, at least in that sense.
Yeah.
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 But
Nice.
yeah, we definitely did have a range of personality. And I think it was talked about too, how, even the change from, when kids are little, what you think they might be. And then as they get older and you watch them, mature and grow. So, yeah, it's probably good as a parent not to try to buttonhole your kid's personality too soon. Even, those who are into the Enneagram say it's really not probably until you're into your 20s or so that you're really going to kind of know what your type is. So we might be real anxious to try to type people too soon, but no, there's a lot of changes that happen, obviously. What's the brain science says, not until you're about 25 does your brain actually mature and be what it's going to be.
Frontal lobe development. Yeah
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Very cool.
You were talking, when we were talking about having you on the podcast, you were saying something that I thought was really interesting. I hadn't thought about when you are in a teaching setting versus at a party, how one has a time frame and one doesn't. Do you remember talking about that? I thought that was really interesting.
Right. Yeah. Going back to that, as an introvert, like you choose the extrovert response. Yeah. Like as a teacher, yeah, I know that this class is going to at this time and I've got lunch after, or my day ends at 3:30, and that having that time frame really helps. But yeah, if you go to a party that who knows when it's going to end, that's a little, like, okay, I can do the extrovert thing, but for how long? It's kind of indefinite. And yeah, so for anybody who's planning a party, if you would tell us what time it starts and what time it ends, you might find that we're much better and much more enjoyable guests, because you'll just kind of give us a little more of a sense of how long things are going to happen. And
I never thought of that, but that's so true. When you're teaching, I know when it's going to end, so I know how long. Whereas if you go to a party, you're like, oh, what's coming? What's coming? When are we going to be done? And so,
I hadn't thought about that in context of being a nurse either, but my job is kind of 50-50, like patient care, and then so much of it is documentation. So it's like, I know, okay, I'm gonna like interact with my patient, do my thing, and then I'm gonna sit at the computer by myself quietly and chart. And so I've never thought about that as like, okay, do all the interaction and then like sit down, recharge, and then go back and do more, and that back and forth. But yeah, when you know the end cap of it, that definitely helps.
That's good.
Very cool.
Well, good stuff. Anything else that you can think of you want to add?
I think that was really good. That was a fun conversation. So I've been looking forward to getting on here. And
well, we've been looking forward to having you and hearing your insight. You make me always feel smarter when you talk.
And as we always say, our whole family just like hypes up our podcast. But so we go to church in Modesto. We don't live in Modesto. So mostly every week, we see my parents. And every week that we've put out a podcast, my dad is like, okay, he literally pulls his phone out with his notes and he's like, these are the things I thought about. Like, he's always like a very active listener. So I
I love
appreciate
it.
that you not just listen to it, but you're like, all right, I have thoughts or questions or follow up. So we
I love it.
appreciate
Yes, we do. We love
the
it.
support.
All right. Should we get into our awkward moments?
Let's do it.
Okay. Kirk, do you have any awkward moments of
Dad, go ahead,
recently?
Dad.
Yeah. So, okay. So teaching at a large public school, especially when you teach freshmen, um, the students you teach are going to be on campus for the next, few years. So this first week of school, I have seen so many kids and they will come up to me and go, "Hey, Mr. McCall." So they're former students. And I swear I cannot remember their names. Their faces are familiar, but I cannot remember their names. And so when they start having these, conversations, and the more they talk, and I'm just like, "Yeah, it's good to see you, pal.
Oh no.
How are your classes going this year?" And so, I mean, I know faces. If I see the list of names, I know the names, but just making that connection. And yeah, again, first week of school, it's a little rough, and to the way kids will change over the summer. I mean, even physical appearance.
Yes.
It's like, wait, is that so and so?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a little tough. So hopefully I'll remember a few names. But yeah, it's definitely awkward in the first week of school as a teacher.
I can just totally relate because I teach at two sites. I have 1,000 students. I don't remember names at all, but I know faces. So if they came up to me, I'd know them. So in class, I told them, I'm really going to try to get to know your names. And, I say, "What's your name?" And they look at me like, you know me. They get so offended. And so I have to explain, I do know you. But anyway, so I totally got that.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
How
right.
about you, Abbie? Awkward.
Okay. So again, this is more probably I felt awkward. So I'm getting lunch the other day at work. I'm driving through El Pollo Loco because it's delicious. And I get to the first window or the screen when you give the order. And I haven't been back in the drive-through since, but they started it off. I don't know if this is a new thing with, "Hi, who do we have the pleasure of serving today?" And I was like, I'm not doing that. So I just like paused for a second. And I was like, what's worse, saying it and feeling like an idiot, or just, and I was like, "Hi, I would like a chicken guacamole." Like I just blasted through. I was like, no, we're not doing that today. I'm like, if I'm standing there and you have to write my name down to call it out for an order, fine. But drive through, no,
Yeah.
we're
Oh
not
my
doing that.
goodness.
So
That's pretty
Nice.
awkward.
it was rough.
So mine is this was right before school started, but I went to the new Costco. I parked far away. I like getting my steps, and I thought I remembered where I parked by a shopping cart return thing. Anyway, come out and it's like 100 million degrees. It's already hot, but I'm like, okay, walking toward where I think it is. Nope, no car. Go down, it's just that typical can't find my car. And it was going on for a while. And this lady had her window down sitting under her car and she's like, "Can't find your car, huh?" It's just like, yeah, nope, can't find the car. And I have a giant Costco cart and it's just, yeah, and it was fun. So anyway,
Nice.
okay, let's do recommendations. Kirk, what do you recommend?
Okay, so I'm gonna get a little political here.
Okay.
Sorry to bring that into the podcast, but
We love it.
yeah, anybody who knows me knows I'm probably a little center of left in terms of my political stance, but I really do appreciate perspectives from the other side. And I've been looking for a while for a good conservative news source that wasn't, shall we say, MAGA adjacent. And I found one. It's called The Dispatch, thedispatch.com. It's a fantastic site. They've got great articles, newsletters, a bunch of podcasts. A lot of it's free. Some of it you have to subscribe to, but I've really enjoyed reading their stuff, listening to their podcast. So if anybody wants a good, sane conservative perspective, check out thedispatch.com.
Okay.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Check it out. How about you, Abbie?
I'll keep mine brief and general, but this last weekend we made zero plans and just took the days as they came. And we have not had 2 weekend days in a row where we've not had to get up early, get ready, go do something. It was just like, it was amazing because I feel like I had so much more energy to be like, hey, yeah, let's go to dinner. Let's go do this thing, because there was nothing on the agenda. It was beautiful.
I love that.
Yes.
I definitely recommend that too. But
Yep.
mine is I recommend Pharmacists. And here's why. It's really hard to call and get into doctors these days. It's just impossible. Questions, you don't even want to necessarily make an appointment, but you have a question, they're not going to get back to you. pharmacists know a lot of stuff. And so you can literally walk in the pharmacist or up to the pharmacy and say, I want to talk to the pharmacist, ask them questions, tell them things. They'll direct you to what you need. They'll give you advice. It's all free. So if you have a question, go ask a pharmacist.
But is there an awkward moment when they have to like explain everything that's written on the label? Like you try to be so nice and listen, you think, oh my goodness, you're just reading what's on the bottle, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just me. So.
Yeah, but no, I've always said pharmacist and anesthesiologist. Those are people I would put my life in the hands of. No question. Most doctors, but I feel like they have an insane knowledge base that you just wouldn't expect from.
And they're not going to take 2 weeks to get back to me. I can just walk in and get my question answered. So anyway. Nice. All right. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for being on our podcast. Thank you for being a big cheerleader and, giving your corrections every once in a while. Yeah.
You're actually
got to keep you honest. So just,
also, I just have to throw out, you are on episode number 13. So as a Swiftie, that is significant.
Right. So that's probably a sign that Reputation Taylor's version is going to be announced tonight, right?
Don't even get me started.
If it happens, I called it, but if not, another check in the cloud.
Yeah, I wasted a lot of time watching the live stream today, and I was disappointed. That's all I'll say.
Well, since it's the 13th episode, should we be releasing it on a Friday?
Ooh, yes. Spooky. Love it.
All right. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. And, if you feel like giving us a 5-star review, go for it. And we will see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.